Good morning, counseling and mental health. Let's talk really quick about your assignment for today that I actually posted yesterday, but I'm extending it because I did not allow you access to the notes portion, okay? So let's talk about this for 1 second. I can't tell you how important counseling and mental health is right now in this day and age because things are crazy. But it's okay because I'm optimistic and I'm hanging on and I love school and I love my kids. Not just my kids at home, not just my children, but I love y'all too. Okay, so here we go. Week of October 13th, right? Second period and third period, counseling and mental health. So yesterday I posted notes on the lobe of the brain or the lobes of the brain, and we've already explored just briefly. And so I posted it again because on this one, on the top one, the most recently posted, you actually have access to this Google Doc. So you can go from the PowerPoint and you can fill in your notes on this Google Doc and you can save it, okay? And it's important that you do that because one, it's a grade, and then two, you're going to be able to utilize those resources on an assessment that we're going to have coming up shortly, okay? Anyways, so I want to really quick go over the PowerPoint and the objectives. So the objective, students will identify the various functions of the brain lobe, stem, and cerebellum. Directions, utilize the attached Google Slides, slides 6 and 11, to complete your Google Docs notes, okay? I've made a copy for every student, so I have just done that. I have completed a portion of the notes on the bottom for you for the brainstem and the cerebellum, okay? So let's click on this PowerPoint really quick and let's talk about it for 2 minutes. Now, if you're in class, in which I would encourage everybody to come in class, because if you have the opportunity, just here's a little secret. They're letting anybody come back to school, okay? And so there's not a lot of learning that takes place at home, I believe. And our statistics are showing that. And so if you come to school, you'll get to have fun with Mr. Valdez and the classes, and we have a lot of different discussions, and you don't take boring notes all the time, okay? And we do activities and stuff. So please come back to class. But here we go. So the human brain. Y'all should have done this already, right? Taking your best guess at the frontal lobes. We're not an anatomy and physiology class, so we don't go crazy into depth about this, but I just want you to know the basics, okay? So the frontal lobe, if you're at home, smack it so that you know what the frontal lobe is, okay? So has everything to do with complex thought. It's the control panel of personality, and then you can read through these. And so if you're in class, we have a huge discussion on it and stuff like that. I might start videotaping the classes. It just gets really difficult and complicated doing that, but I'm going to do my best, okay? Fun fact on there and stuff like that. And then you have a reflection. How developed is your frontal lobe? So typically they say that your frontal lobe doesn't develop until later adulthood. And so definitely not in adolescence, which is why that we don't make the best decisions sometimes. Our judgment isn't the best, and it's hard to control our emotions in adolescence for the most part. And I'm sure you could agree with that. And then going through it, parietal lobe has everything to do with sensory and things like that. And then we talk about, like, see, I wish you were here in class because we do little activities. Remember that activity everybody did in middle school where they would somebody would get a partner and they would tickle their hand and arm all the way up, and you'd have your eyes closed, and then you have to try to guess when it gets to this middle crease. And so maybe do that, but it has to do with your senses and things like that. And then we do some other activities, which I wish you were here so you can do too. Okay, temporal lobe right here. Bam, press it because it hurts. Has everything to do with auditory information and visual processing. I just want to let you know the brain is very complicated, and different lobes of the brain participate together and stuff like that, which is why you'll see memory in the frontal lobe and things like that. But they are specific, but they intertwine with one another, okay? So it gets crazy complicated, but we're just sticking to the basics for the sake of this class. And then we'll do fun labs about having a healthy brain, and that's going to be fun. That's coming up soon. But temporal lobe, occipital lobe right here. If you smack it, you can feel your eyes hurt. I'm going to do that one more time. Like you feel your eyes hurt. So maybe if you're at home, I guarantee you are probably there and you're like, should I smack myself? And you probably are because you're just curious. And so that's going to be funny. But anyways, primary visual cortex. Here's a great video on concussion. Watch the video, please. It's pretty cool. And then going on, the brainstem talks about its functions and how it breaks up into three portions: the midbrain function, the pons, and the medulla oblongata. That's from a movie. But anyways, look into that. Complete your notes. And then the cerebellum, the little brain. Okay, so it literally looks like a little brain. It gets more incredibly complex as the cerebellum actually has its own lobes, but we won't go into that. And that has to do with posture, balance, coordination, and voluntary movements. I should say involuntary movements. Let me just change that right there. Involuntary movements, like heart beating, right? Because your heart beats even when you have to go poop, right? You don't. For the most part, your GI tract is working on its own until the very end, and then you might push, and then it's voluntary and not involuntary, right, when you're pushing. But that's weird, and we're not going to talk about that. All right, that is it. Make sure you complete those notes. Appreciate you. Have a blessed